Welcome on in, guys. This is Three Bold Takes. Freddie, Chase, and Quinn here. And, guys, we just got some news over this past week. Florida State looks to retain Mike Norvell for the 2026 season. For me personally, I thought this was kind of out of bounds almost. It felt like this was definitely headed towards a divorce of both team and coach. And I was very surprised to see that they would keep him around.
Yeah, no, I listen. So when Florida State hired Mike Norvell, it was a G5 coach that apparently is a really good quarterback coach, offensive mind, scheme, all that stuff. Well, he's been there for how long now? 5 years, 6 years, it seems, and
Yeah,
four,
maybe.
five, 5, 6 years, whatever it
Well,
is. And we've yet to see him develop a quarterback or have a quarterback that is any decent, I guess. Like he inherited Jordan Travis. That wasn't him. And ever since then, dude, it's been abysmal, if I'm being honest with you. And the problem is that Florida State they don't have any money to fire and hire somebody. I think that's the issue. I feel like they're in the same situation Florida was in last year, where they know that they're going to get rid of him. It's just they don't have the means to do it at the current moment, and they're hoping that next year that may be the case. Um, I think he should have done been fired this year. Um, I guess if you beat Alabama, you get to keep your job when you don't deserve it. I guess that's the way it works. I mean, it worked with Auburn for a couple years. Um, but man, he stinks, man. He's just not very good to me. He does not do well in recruiting. He does not do well. Well, I guess he does somewhat decent in the transfer portal, and that's the thing. Like he's in such a nice recruiting bed in Florida that you shouldn't have to rely on the transfer portal. But that's what he does because he cannot recruit high school talent, and that's alarming if you're a Florida State fan. That's alarming if you're an administration for Florida State. Like this is a school that should be a really, really good football team and should be one of the two best teams in the state of Florida. Now, yeah, I know you can say Miami, you can say Florida, but Florida State is in that conversation and should be one of the two best teams in the state year in and year out. And they continue to not be under this guy. And I guess another thing is who you going to hire because like right now, all these other head coaching jobs are open. They would probably have to go another G5 route. And same situation with Florida when they hired Billy Napier, they went G5 route, didn't work out. These top end jobs and top end schools that go get G5 coaches don't work. I'm just gonna like it seems like it just does not work. And making that jump from G5 to upper echelon is a huge jump. Um, but hey, if Florida State wouldn't have sued the ACC, then maybe they'd have money to fire and be able to hire somebody else. So I don't know. Their administration is terrible.
Look, first I'll give a little pushback on the Jordan Travis take. He did inherit him, but I would say he did develop him. I'll give him credit for the Jordan Travis season, especially that undefeated year. I'm going to give it to him. That's also the only year they've been decent under Mike Norvell. That's it. That's the 1 year, 2023. Look, I don't blame him for not getting rid of him. One, I think it gives you another year to gather more means to let him go because you did sign him to that big extension after 2023.
Yeah.
Two, yeah. Two, let's just call a spade a spade. You're in the race a little late when Florida, who is geographically incredibly close to you and in the same state, LSU, who is geographically super close to you, and Auburn, who is geographically close to you, are all already in the hunt for a coach. Not to mention Penn State, which is a pretty big brand in the Big Ten, is also in the hunt. So you're a little behind the eight ball in talking to coaches if you waited to fire him to this point. It's just such a like loaded and busy recruiting or coaching search off season this year that frankly I think it is better to just kind of wait a year and then put yourself as the premier or at least a top three brand looking for a coach next year. Because I'll go as far as to say it, that Florida State's the best program in Florida. That's how I feel about Florida State. You can like shrug it at it if you want to. They've had more sustained success than either of the other two teams in that state over a longer period of time. When I see the schools in Florida, I view it as a 1A, 1B situation between Florida State and Florida and Miami's 2. Like, that's how I see it. Miami had a good stretch at coaches back in the olden days of college football, but they haven't been that since like 2002. So, call it what it is. But I view Florida State as a better program than Florida. So it's a shame to see them in the situation they're in. They should have never ran Jimbo off. I've never understood.
Yeah,
Can we talk about that for a second? I know this is supposed to be about Norvell. You had what was it, like a 7 or 8 win year that year that they ran him out of town? Your starting quarterback for that season that you were really hyped about got hurt in week 1 against Alabama. You came in ranked number 3. Your star quarterback gets hurt. You didn't have a legitimate backup plan, and you struggled through some of the bigger games on your schedule, and you limped to a 7-5 or 8-4 finish. It's been a while, so I don't exactly remember. And you ran Jimbo out of town. He won you a national title like 4 or 5 years before that. So I don't really and it wasn't like you were irrelevant in between the national title and firing him. You consistently getting double-digit win seasons. So I feel like they're still paying for that. This is why, like, I caution teams that have coaches that show pretty decent success, like a Penn State situation. You're having pretty decent success under James Franklin, and you think you can get rid of him and the grass is going to be greener because of what happened at Georgia. Look what's happened at Auburn and Florida State since they did it to Gus Malzahn and Jimbo Fisher. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I think this is what they're paying for with Mike Norvell, and you got to wait another year. I think it's the right move. Not because you're going to get better next year. By no means do I think they're going to be better next year. But you can't get a whole lot worse. There's only so far that a brand that big can fall. So just holding off another year, like,
I guess my thing is, though, like, why would you just waste a year? Like next year would just be a throw it up and throw it away type year. And like, I get you can save the money and do all this and that, but like, the players and fans don't deserve that. If they really don't like this guy and really want him gone and know that they're probably going to do it next year, just do it. It's like, I don't like waiting until the end of the season to fire a coach when you know you're going to fire him in week 6.
But my call for that is, you weren't sure back in week 6 because of the big Alabama win. And so waiting, make sure you get the guy you want. Because at this stage, you're behind the 8 ball to getting any of the top end guys. You just are, because everyone else has been talking longer to these prospects. And you may disagree with that, but
I guess my question is, like, what big name is going to be available next year that's not already in discussions this year to go to a job now?
The guys that we've been.
who's gonna pop on the radar next year that's not on the radar right now?
And that's the
other name.
And if you're a Florida State, that's a problem because you take a chance on a guy that pops in 1 to 2 years, just like Mike Norvell did at Memphis, and you're in the same situation. Like, you can't just do the popping thing, because that's what Florida did with Billy Napier too. Had an amazing season at Louisiana, and then he got the job, and it's been a bust. So I don't know. I just don't think there's a lot of good head coaches available anymore. That we're still trying to develop those guys.
And I would also, from Florida State, I wouldn't be looking at who's going to pop that's a T5 head coach. I'd be looking at who's going to pop that's a coordinator.
Yeah.
That I'm a big proponent of hiring big time coordinators that are coaching in the Power 4, specifically in the SEC and the Big Ten, as your next head coaches. I think those are the guys that actually make better coaches.
Brian,
I would agree.
Mac, those guys. And I think for me with Norvell, I've never really been a huge fan just because of the way he shapes his teams. I'm a big culture identity guy, and there's not much culture you can get from overturning your roster each year from the transfer portal. And I think the main reason you keep him around is because the 2023 season was a lot of lightning in the bottle. It was like, we got all these transfers in, and somehow it all worked out together, and bam, we should have been in the college football playoffs, in the championship game, probably, they think. But in 30 years, you're going to be looking back and I'm like, thank the Lord we didn't let that 2023 Florida State team in. They're just like the Andy Dalton Horned Frogs. So that's at least how I see it. And I like he's just never. I guess I'm kind of with Freddie too. You win the Alabama game, man. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, he just bought himself another year, no matter what happens this season. I'm just never been a fan because I don't think he coaches extremely well. I think he gets into like Freddie mentioned is not great recruiting wise out of high school, and Florida has probably some of the most, I'd say probably a top 2 talented state to recruit out of. Like them in California. Well, Texas is up there too, but them in California, I think right off. Um, so him just overloading the transfer portal and taking a lot of shots at guys, I just don't think he's done exceptionally well. And it's just again the culture identity thing. I personally would have fired him mid-season, but again, you are late in the game. You don't know who you're going to go get. You save a year on the contract. And that was the stupidest thing is thinking that Alabama was going to hire Mike Norvell and give him $10 million a year. But get what was he at that time? Top 3 highest paid coaches after that contract came out, something like that. Like put Norvell in the same sentences as Kirby Smart and all that. Like that's wild. That was really wild. Looking back at it, hindsight's 2020, but maybe you're hoping you get lightning in the bottle, and that's what could really screw Florida State is what if he does? You know? What if he gets just like because like do you gotta remember Jared Verse, one of my favorite defensive players from that season, came from U of Albany, University of Albany. Like kid is a stud, just kind of shot up out of nowhere. So he finds some guys like that and it happens. Like, what do you do? Went 11-1 in the regular season, and we just won 2 rounds in the college football playoffs. Like, golly, what do we do with him now? Can't fire him now.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think right now you've made up your mind that you don't like the way he's program building.
Yeah,
A lightning in a bottle seat. And I'm speaking from Florida State's perspective here. A lightning in a bottle season is not going to change how he does program building. So are you willing to sit around with a bunch of 5-6 win seasons for the random 10-11 win season? I'm not. The way I view coaching right now should be as long as they're winning 8+ games, I wouldn't dip them out as long as they're giving you a playoff appearance every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, but I also agree with what Chase is saying. Like, if he does have another season where it's maybe not make the playoffs per se and win a game, but he's on the cusp. So maybe like a Shane Beamer in South Carolina last year. You had a good season. You're right there on the cusp. Like, I feel like that buys him another year. And again, that's another year wasted because it is that lightning in a bottle approach. And the fans and the boosters and all that, if the guy does that next year, I kind of agree with Chase. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull the trigger unless it's mid-season and, they lose like 2 of their first 3 games, and then it's like, yeah.
There would just have to be a coordinator or guy out there that they're like already circling this off season. That is who we're going to get, even if he does it. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like if John Summerall doesn't take a job or like you're just in love with like a Kane Womack or somebody like that. That's just like, hey, this is who we want. If he doesn't take a job this offseason somewhere, and he's available next offseason, like
Kevin Steele, he would be a good one.
Yeah, let's do it. So
I'll say this: if you do pull the 9-3 on the cusp thing, and you buy yourself another year, you got to get at least 2 wins in these 4 out of these 4 games. Clemson, Miami, Alabama.
Yeah,
your 3 rivals in the Alabama game, you got to get at least 2 of those as dubs if you're going to go 9-3 and keep your job.
Yep.
Because if you're 9-3 with 3 losses to a series of those 4 teams, you haven't won yourself any confidence beating up on the rest of the ACC. You have.
And I guess that's another thing is that they are in the ACC and struggle this bad.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it's like, well, what if they were in the SEC? Or the Big Ten? It's like, well, you're looking at a 2-win season, 1-win season here. We're not looking at, 5 could be a bowl game here if they beat Florida. You're looking at an absolute disaster and firing very quickly, I would assume.
I would say you're probably looking at about the same record, frankly. because you rack up your out of conference wins against the cupcake games, which in this case would be 3 of them because Florida would become a conference game in the SEC. So that's like 3 guaranteed wins right there. And then I think they're a good enough roster to win 2 SEC games. I mean, shoot, they beat Alabama and they'll probably beat Florida.
Well, guys, that's Mike Norvell. He doesn't seem to agree, but let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you were kind of shocked. I personally, again, was shocked that Mike Norvell was retained by Florida State. Let us know what you think. If there's anybody out there that if you're a Seminoles fan who you might hire if Norvell wasn't there any longer. For Freddie, for Chase, for Quinn, it's been 3 bold takes. Next time.